Hey there! Today we're going to talk about a Herbin ink called Lierre Sauvage. And for some reason I don't use greens a whole lot. I don't know why, because I actually like greens. It's just that for some reason when I have to pick an ink I don't generally turn to a green. But sometimes I do. I think Herbin has some very interesting greens. And yes, it's safe to say that by far my favorite is Lierre Sauvage. Lierre is ivy, the type of plant that crawls up against your wall. Sauvage means savage. I'm not sure whether you should call that savage ivy. I'm not a botanist, So, wild ivy, could this be poison ivy? Is that the correct term? I don't know. But what I do know is that this is a nice color. It is indeed, I think, like ivy leaves. It's dark, it's green, it's pretty intense. And that's why I like it. There are some other Herbin colors, vert reseda, vert pré. Vert reseda is very, I always compare it to mint. For some reason it always, evokes images of mint in my mind. It's a very bright green, which you either like or you don't. Vert pré is prairie green, and that's what it is. It's sort of grassy green. But this is much darker. I like that. It's also, I haven't used it for a while, but I seem to remember it's pretty well shaded. So that's what we're going to find out in a few seconds. I think if you like a green like this, but you cannot find this, Private Reserve Avocado is a good alternative. Because as far as I remember, that's as I can remember, those two are pretty well related. So you can always try one of those. And that's all there's to it. So I think that we should now have a very extensive writing sample. I hope this is going to be useful, and I'll see you later. Bye bye. Okay, so here we go with Herbin Lierre Sauvage. There we go. I try to get the lighting as good as I can. Okay, so as you can see, quite a dark ink, I would say, dark green. I already see some nice shading there. I hope you do too. I really love this ink. Good flow, nice color. Let's do a bit more writing. And it's great on your fingers too, by the way. Fine, no pressure. A quick round fox. Jumps over another exciting new episode. A fan of pen makers. In the wild. You have seen the excellent video of Brian Gray making a video, right? If not, check it out. It's on fpgeeks.com. And it's on my channel if you need it. medium. So quick. Brown fox. Jumps over. It's a lazy dog. Broad. The quick brown fox. Jumps over. The lazy dog. Does it? Yes. Italic. Why did I end up with all this ink on my fingers? Well, last time I removed the cleaning up after the last Inkcyclopedia, I removed the feed and the nib. Apparently didn't put them in back together, so whenever I fill the converter right now with this ink, big drops of ink just flew out, most likely on my fingers. Now, that just goes to show that if you do something like that, if you do remove the nib and the feed, make sure that you really align them well after you put them back in. Or actually, before you put them back in, when putting them back in, align them well. The quick brown fox. Removed his feed. That should give you an idea. Okay. One of my favorite parts of the Inkcyclopedia, the single, double, and triple passes of an ink. One. Ooh. Right, my friend. I'll start over. Otherwise it wouldn't be a single pass, right? This is going to be 2 passes, and this is going to be no less than 3 passes. And this is called, it's like an H, so we'll call it human error. Right. Bit of flex writing. What we have here is, whoops, slower. In all, I'd say this is a fairly wet ink, but it does have a good drying time. That's already dry, well, dry-ish, I guess. That was a very wet spot. I think parts of that are, well, okay, they're not dry. Whatever, doesn't really matter. Adjusting the lighting a bit, as well as I can. Maybe some more flexy stuff going on here. That would be useful if it wouldn't railroad. There we go. Ballpoint pen user outside. Okay, there we go. Bit of writing. So these pens don't really flex, the pens I'm going to use now. So the purpose of this is I try to squeeze out a bit of flex to give you some more flexy stuff. You know, but also this is meant just to give you a bit more of a taste of the ink, just a little bit of extra writing. But these nibs are not meant to flex, so they won't. I'm going to write the whole thing. How are we doing on dryness here? That's pretty good. That's good. Okay. And before we do the broad sample, let us move on to a second pass. Second pass. Beautiful! Broad writing. So that would be very wet writing right here. Note that even though it's... where's my loop? Loop! No! Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Note that even when wet, I think... it's very dark, isn't it, for you to see that? I think it already gives you some pretty nice and decent shading. Not sure whether this was... the loop was useful at all, but it you know... doing what I can. So some really nice shading. That's one of the things I love about this ink. I mean, you can see that here, but of course this is still wet, but even in dry spots you see there's a very nice shading going on from pretty light green to much darker green to something that really leans towards, you know, I won't say black, but a very dark green. So I really love that. Let me see, because I think this is drying very well. So much ink in my fingers I can't even see whether it's dry. Third pass. I'll show you that again when it's dry. There we go. Now we have one more thing to go. One more thing to do. One more spot to go. One more place to visit. One more event to attend. Italic. Try to be a bit of flex. Try to be a bit of flex while I'm pretty flexible. Trying to add a little bit of flex. Lierre Sauvage. There you go. Ha! Righto. That sounded a bit odd. So what we need, quite simply, is some tests of waterproofness. These I shall give you. I just had to grab a pen there, but I have it now. Let's try to write an Old English J. J for Herbin. That's one of the reasons I like these parallel pens. For work like this, they are very, very useful. Okay, so I suppose this could be a J. This might have been, well, whatever. This is supposed to be a J. And it's very wet now, so I just have to do some more writing. I will do some more writing. I'll do it here. This is a J. Okay. Now we wait a bit because it has to dry. I think this is actually okay. Dry. Dry. Scorecard. Color. Dark green. There are darker greens, Empire by Herbin is darker, but I prefer green to be a bit more vibrant than that ink, and I think this is it. Shading. Well, I don't know about you, but when I see something like this, I would say shading is very good. Just check out the stills later, right? Very good. What else we got? Flow. I think flow is very good. See a bit of a skip when I write very good for flow, but okay. Feathering. I'll come back to that when I've done the sample on copier paper. Dry in time. Come on, what's wrong with this pen? Question is, what's wrong with me? I'm not holding it correctly. Drying time. Well, I'd say mediocre, because it is a fairly wet ink, and I like that, but when you're looking for something that dries very quickly, this is not it. Waterproofness. I think that's going to be a legendary fail, but let's have a look at that. Right now. Okay, yes, that's right, we used to do that a bit more drastic with the calligraphy. Well, there we go. Let's watch how that dissolves. I'll just continue the scorecard a bit while that stuff is drying out. What we got? Cleaning. Oh, I would say very good. I've never had any problems cleaning Herbin inks. Maybe 1670 is a bit typical, but you know, I mean that's a typical structure, you know, chemical structure. So I'm not really surprised there. So cleaning is very good. Bleed through. Have to check that out in a second. Sorry for writing all the way to the bottom of this page, but it's running out of space, man. Okay, I'm grabbing a tissue. First, let's dry that a bit. Then let's get rid of that water. Ah, that's awesome. More ink in my hands. Okay, so waterproofness, I'm not sure what you think, but I don't think it's awesome. Although this is still there, but I mean, this is a J. This was a very broad nib, of course, and this, I think, has, well, it's not entirely gone. Actually, I think it's fairly artistic, but I don't think that's something you'd really like. So, waterproofness, I'm going to say mediocre at best. Okay, now we need to ascertain two things. We need to see feathering. I'll wait for that for the copier paper, and we have to see bleed through. Bleed through is something we can have a look at right now. Oh, please don't tear in half. Thank you. You see any bleed through? I don't. But this is rhodia paper, but still. I mean, there's maybe a little bit of shade through, but that is flex writing. So I think that's pretty good. Let's have a look at copier paper. A sheet of copier paper. Medium. This is copier paper. Fine. Is it really? Broad. Well, I believe so. And it is A4. A bit of flex. That was strange handwriting. What's going on here? This is extremely tapered. White balance, kind of off. I know it is. Can't help it. What do I see? Do I see the F for railroading? No. The F for, well, I can think of some words. Actually, I was just going to say flex. Because, my friends, do you see what I see? I definitely see some feathering there, but this is really flexy writing with a lot of ink. I think I may, perhaps I can make this feather when I go slow and use a lot of ink. No, I can't. Well, anyway, lots and lots of ink, feathering. Why am I trying to post this? Oh, bloody hell. Okay, well, let's see what we can do. I think we need to get some type of big letter here to see whether we can make that feather. And for some reason, I'm kind of partial to the S. Well, it's interesting, I guess. The thing is, don't you love it? You can paint your house with this nib. I love it. But I don't see any feathering. So, it's the flex writing that really induces the feathering. Let's have a look at bleed through, shall we? Yes, we shall. Ooh. That's the flex writing. But you see the normal writing? Maybe you see a little bit of these things, so there may be minimal bleed through. But I think with normal writing, this should not really interfere. You definitely see it there, but it's again, it's the flex writing that's really being the boogeyman right there. So I'm going to say that feathering is good. Because, oh, that's for feathering, we're not even talking about feathering. Well, I mean, feathering is good too, because the only stuff that really feathers is the flex writing. When it comes to bleed through, I think that's good too, because it's really with, again, the flex writing, the really heavy usage of ink, that interferes, that gives you feathering, that gives you bleed through. But with normal writing, I think you should be fine. So, if we come back to these things just a second, you can see how multiple passes actually make the color go from a reasonably light green to a very dark, intense green. It always reminds me, actually, I never gave this any thought. I looked up the translation of Lierre. I know the leaf is there. I could have known this, but I never really, struck me. I've always associated this color of ink with pine forests. You go up into the mountains, you have these pretty dark forests of pines. That's the type of color it sort of reminds me of. But I think it's very nice. It has some excellent shading. Waterproofness is not its forte, but it's what it is. I think it's a very nice dark green. So there we go. Another entry of the Inkcyclopedia. I hope this was useful, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.